game coming up on Saturday, playing the Green Bay Packers. Week three kind of matchup that we had. Green Bay and San Francisco know each other very, very well. They played in 2019 a couple times as well. So Green Bay this year doing really well, 13-4. But one thing that I did notice, Jack, is Devonte Adams plays a big role in whether or not the Green Bay Packers win. He's been held under 60 yards receiving 4 times this season. 3 of those games they have lost. The only game that they did win with him under 60 yards receiving was against Baltimore, and they only won by 1 point. So that clearly is probably the biggest way to slow down Green Bay, knowing the kind of relationship that Devonte and Aaron Rodgers has. So with the kind of secondary that we have right now, how can the 49ers contain Devonte Adams, especially since he ate us alive in that week 3 matchup?
Yeah, it's going to be tough for him, but I think the 49ers are in a better position now than they were the first time around. Containing Devonte Adams is going to be partly Ambry Thomas and Emmanuel Mosley's job, but it's also going to be partly Nick Bosa, DJ Jones, and those guys up front. It's going to partly fall on them as well, because if they allow Rodgers to get the ball out of his hands on his schedule, I think they're going to be able to pick him apart, because it's a tough ask, right? He's Devonte Adams. There's a reason why those numbers are what you said. He's their top receiver. He's the best receiver on Green Bay. He's probably one of the best receivers in the league. Mm-hmm. And with the way this sets up right now, it's going to be a tough one. I think, Ambry Thomas is a better corner. The way that he's been playing over the last couple of weeks, he's really stepped up and played into his own, which is great, right? I mean, you and I were big on...
Yeah, let's pat ourselves on the back for that one, Jack. Everybody was eating us alive for saying that they got a steal in the 3rd round, but it just took to the later end of the season for them to actually see it.
Yeah, see, it took me too long to get to that part of the answer, right? Because that's the key. It was Ambry Thomas. I know we both liked him, and he had his issues, and there was reasons why they weren't playing him as much. But I think he's got the speed, and you've seen some toughness out of him as well. And so it's going to be fun to watch him match up with Adams, and Mosley match up with him as well. If you go back to that week 3 matchup, and Adams really tore up the
zone, right?
Well, he was really doing a good job on Josh Norman and Deommodore Lenoir, Dante Johnson. That's who he was beating. So he was beating the other rookie over there. He wasn't really doing a whole lot against Emmanuel Mosley. It was mostly on the other side. So I think it's going to be on Thomas to be able to come out and do what we saw him do last week to CeeDee Lamb, right? Play off, but at the same time be able to come up and be right there when the ball's thrown, because that's really what he did last week. He was able to sit back off coverage and then come up and either make the play or get the tackle right away if the ball came out. And if he can do that against Adams, it'll go a long way to helping the 49ers slow him down, because definitely he's going to get his catches, but like you said, contain is the key word here. Because I would say the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is going to get his numbers, but you need to be able to contain him and not let him just go off on you up and down the field.
Now, I want to talk a little bit more about this topic, because I like that you brought up Ambry Thomas. Obviously, Ambry Thomas, what people might have forgot is he forgoed his last season because obviously COVID. So he's much like Trey, where they had a whole year off from football and then coming before they came into the NFL. So clearly there's going to be that learning curve getting back to game speed. Obviously, there's a jump from college to NFL. So the fact that it took him maybe 3/4 of the season to get into the swing of things definitely, makes a lot of sense, especially because he hadn't played competitive football in quite a bit of time. But the things that we liked about him was he was very aggressive in man-to-man coverage. He's very disciplined with his eyes. I remember Eric Crocker, who I know you shouted out earlier this morning because you were on his show, definitely did a really great breakdown on his Patreon about Ambry Thomas. But one thing that Green Bay took a very big advantage of in the week 3 matchup was the zone, because Aaron Rodgers is just surgical with the ball if he gets enough time, right? So I know you talked about the defensive line needing to make sure that they're in his face speeding him up so he doesn't just have time to just put the ball wherever he wants it. But do you expect the secondary and D'Amico Ryans to call more man, or do you think they're still going to go into that zone coverage that they tend to kind of oscillate between?
I think we're going to see them kind of continue to do what we've seen them do, because part of the reason they like to be in that zone is it keeps everything in front of them, and it forces they can't get the deep shots over the top of them. And so I think you're going to see the 49ers still play a solid amount of zone coverage in this game as well. But again, that kind of goes to where it's a little bit different with Ambry Thomas, because he's even when he's playing in that off coverage, he's not just bailing. He's allowing guys to get to him and then running at the top end of the routes much better, because he is good in man. And so basically he's playing man. It's almost, he's playing zone, but in a way it's almost like a man, in that he allows that guy to get up on him. And he's not in a hard backpedal at first. He allows that guy to kind of eat up that cushion that he has, and then he's able to run right along with them and make some plays. And we saw that on Sunday against the Cowboys a couple of times. And I know Troy Aikman was on a show, and he was talking a lot about how if he was the quarterback, he would have liked to have seen the Cowboys go after not just Thomas, but also the other side as well, because they were giving so much cushion to CeeDee Lamb in that game. And so that's something to look at, is maybe you see the Packers come out and just try to take those underneath shots and work their way down the field. And I think that plays to the 49ers advantage, because that's what the 49ers want you to do is work your way down the field, and they're going to let you work it, and they're going to hope that you make a mistake along the way, or they can force you into some.
Right. One thing that I think Aaron Rodgers does very well against the 49ers is that quick release, because I think he respects the rush a lot from the 49ers. I mean, obviously in the NFC Championship game 2019, the 49ers did a number on him. So I remember noticing in week 3, he definitely had that quick release. So that could be something that we see regardless. But one last question before we move on to the next topic, Jack. What would you say, or how would you feel about the 49ers putting a double team on Devonte Adams with how well he did against them week 3? Because he really was their number one option. I think he had, really big plays. Obviously that game ended up being very close, but Devonte Adams was the difference, especially in that last drive. Do you recommend double teaming him to make sure just, hey, somebody else has to beat us, it's not going to be this guy? Or would you feel comfortable with just how they usually play, which is either the zone or man?
Well, I think I think you're going to want to do some double teaming on him in certain spots. It's not something that you want to do the whole game, because if you're doing it all the time, you're opening up everybody else too, right? Because Rodgers is a good enough quarterback that he's going to see that, and he's going to be able to diagnose it. But I think that you're going to want to pick and choose your spots, but you're going to want to do that at times. And if you get down into the fourth quarter and there's 35 seconds to go and you're up by 2 points, I think you're going to want to not just let him run free through the middle of your field, through the middle of your defense, 3 times in a row. So I'm being real sarcastic there, because that's what happened the first time around. But
right,
you definitely want to have more eyes on him than you did the first time around, and hopefully they learned their lesson in that way. So I think you'll see some doubling of them. You're going to see them keep attention on him, and it'll be interesting to see. I doubt we're going to see Valdez-Scantling this week. I know he's listed as doubtful, so he's not out. But if he doesn't go, how much does that change the Packers' approach this week, and how the 49ers are able to attack them? Because Scantling was a big piece of the puzzle for them.
He's their deep threat. So I know they have Cobb in the slot, and then Lazard is there, who's still a very, very good receiver. And I think they have some young guys that they use for the speed receivers, but definitely MVS was somebody who has Aaron Rodgers' trust. So that is going to change the game plan, obviously.
Yeah, and Lazard had the big catch right at the beginning of the game, back in week 3, from inside on the deep route. I believe that was him over the top of K'Wan Williams. But that's definitely taking out Valdez-Scantling, and it should help them a little bit with limiting the explosive plays to other receivers on the field.